Good afternoon, and welcome back to Friends Day Friday's episode of Afternoon Social. And today we're going to have a little tea party with Katie, who's been with us here all week. Hi, Katie. And we were talking a little bit off camera about enjoying our teacups. And Angela and I got mine from church, but she got hers from her grandmother. So maybe Katie can start and tell us a little bit of story about her grandmother giving her a teacup, and then about managing her business and being a mom of 8 and and how she handles all that on her health journey. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie, and I'm anxious to hear your story about behind your teacup.
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, yes, I usually keep it right back here, but I think a lot of times my head blocks it. So I'm happy to use it today. I actually keep it up here in my bedroom because I don't want my little boys to knock it over downstairs. So I try to keep it safe up here. But yeah, she actually passed away in this past November. But she had given me the teacup probably about 7 or 8 years ago. She was very, I kind of feel like her and I had a lot in common. And she was very much a futuristic thinker too. And so she was like, I want you to have this. It was from her China set. And she said, I want you to take it now. I think while she still could give, she was 90. And so she had given it to me quite a few years ago. And she was like, I want you to take it now while I'm here to give it to you. You know, it was important for her to give it to me herself. Like she didn't want somebody to either take them all, or I think she wanted to just give us a piece of her. But she was amazing. She always had, her and my grandfather, all their kids lived within the same county. And so growing up on Sundays, you know, we'd go to church and then head over to her house, and she'd make pasta and meatballs, and then we'd swim. And to this day, basil growing in the sun and on a hot day always reminds me of her, because she would have it. She would have a garden growing around her pool area, and it was just such nice memories. So I love, like, this is really probably my most cherished thing from her, my teacup.
Oh, really fun.
Yeah, she's the best though.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to share with you, like, I don't know how tea your people are, but this is for like the loose leaf tea. And this mug is actually my favorite mug. It's I think it's a Fiesta ware, but it gives me like my gallon of tea in the morning. I wake up in the morning. It's like my thing. And then I love tea parties, right? Like that's one of the things we talked about. And so I have this book called Taking Tea, and it's just recipes from different tea rooms throughout the country. But I just love how fancy everything is and so pretty.
Oh, yes.
We actually, for my daughter's, I think it was her 8th birthday, we actually went into New York City and went to the Plaza Hotel and had tea there with the scones. It was like the Eloise tea that they have at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. So that was fun. That was one of the highlights of tea for us. But my one of my bucket list things is to go to Asheville, North Carolina, and have tea at the what is it? The Biltmore Estate, I think it's called.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's on my bucket list.
That's a fabulous place.
Yeah, I would love to tour it, especially with my girls. You know, I have 3 teenage girls and then 5 younger boys. So, you know, for the first half of my life being a mom, it was tea parties, and a friend of mine had a tea house, and it went, she decided to close it. And so she gave us all the teacups and the tea stands and the teapots. So we have lots of that stuff. And even still, like, my daughters will have their friends over for fancy tea parties and different things, even though they're, you know, 19 and 17 and 15, they still do their tea parties and that kind of thing. I think it's something we've grown up on, or they've grown up on. And then my boys, I just try to keep them alive. I feel like they're kind of crazy. So I don't think we're ready for tea parties with them yet, although they like the treats that come along with them. But yeah, they're silly, you know, they're still busy and bumping around and stuff like that. So we don't do too many tea parties now, but
right. I know I raised two boys, but then I was blessed with grand girls. So we started doing, I finally got to do my tea parties and all doing all the girly things.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to wait to be a grandma, but it's all working out. But I'm with you. I like the fancy tea parties. Like I said, my teacup is fancy, but one of my favorites. So
yeah.
So how do you manage all of this? Enjoying your tea parties is one of the things about managing your health journey. And like I said, she's a mom of 8. And how do you handle all of that and still run a business? And that's just an amazing achievement that you can do all that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I tried when I started Health, Wellness, and Chocolate. One of the things that I wasn't very insistent upon was that I had started other businesses. One of the other businesses I had started when my little girls were little was a daycare center. So it had grown really quickly, and I had 63 children and 16 employees, and I was working 60 hours a week. It was very overwhelming. And we sold it. And I was like, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I was then for the next 10, 15 years, I was like, I don't want to create another monster. I want to do this smart. My business needs to kind of fit my life. I kind of had the Proverbs 31 woman in my mind, where she has a side field, but really my focus is my home first. My husband, well, first the Lord, then my husband, then my children, and then any side businesses that I do. So that was important to me. So my oldest 2 daughters wanted cell phones, and they were starting to drive. So I said, okay, if you're each willing, I'll barter with you. I'll pay for the cell phones, and I'll give you the phones and pay for the service. If you guys would just each watch for 2 hours, watch the little guys, just 2 hours each day. And so really that's 4 hours total. And that's when I work on my business. That's it. So like from 10 to 12 and then 1 to 3, that's like really the time I have. And then the rest of the time I'm a mom, so sometimes I'm coming up here after just changing a diaper, and like I leave it, I stop at noon and then head downstairs and make lunch for everybody. And just before I came up, I was putting my little guy down for a nap, and but it felt like, if this has to work for me, I didn't want to create another monster. And so I felt like the best way I could reach women and help them too, rather than working one-on-one, and then, so then I'd have to have, meetings every day and be available all the time. I created the course to help women. So it's self-paced. They can log in at their convenience. And then if they have questions, they can email me. And then really just Mondays at 10, we meet live on a Zoom call. So then they can ask me questions, and we spend about an hour together every week as they go through the course. But it's not like I have to be here 8 hours a day, that was important to me, very, very much so. And I don't have all little kids. Like I have 8, but they're not all little. So my older ones do help out, like we barter. And then everybody, I try to be organized, but we're all home together. The house is not always spotless like I would love, but I feel like some of my standards maybe had to get down a little bit lower, but also expecting the kids, like, hey, listen, if you're going to eat your lunch, then I expect you to put your plate in the garbage if you're on a paper plate, or at least in the dishwasher. Like, I'll do the dishes and make sure the dishwasher is available for you to put your dirty dishes in. But that wasn't, everybody can just do at least their own thing, so that's really what we do. But like I said, I'm very intentional about not making this, I'm present for my clients when they need me to be, but also present for my kids too. That balance was very important for me to do.
I think that's the main key word, is intentional. Making a schedule, making a plan, and this is what I'm going to stick to. We talked earlier about making a commitment to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's part of the relationship with God too, is making a commitment that I'm going to read so much scripture and pray and things. if we put those commitments and be intentional about our lives, there's so much more we can accomplish without stress because we're in for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so now that I'm not waking up through the night with a baby to nurse, I feel like 5:30, I'm pretty much ready to start my day. I am a morning person. Not everybody is, right? Like you said, you're not. But like for me, I am. But I also go to bed by 9:30 because I'm not a night owl at all. So even in college, I was asleep by 9:30. It was really kind of pathetic. But I'm just not a night owl. I try really hard. It's miserable. So but I do enjoy the morning. So usually, like a typical day, I get up at 5:30. And then I usually read till about 7. So I read a Bible. Like right this year, I started on January 1st. I'm just reading through the New Testament. So I get like maybe a few chapters a day. And then I usually read some sort of personal development book in the morning also. So it's has to do with like either, learning more from my business, like the researchy kind of part of my business, or it's more of like actual business books that I can read. So it's like personal development, like marketing or business related, or it's science and health and wellness related. And then at 7, I usually take time to do some form of exercise. So I do strength train now, which is just like lifting weights, or I'll go outside and walk around, depending on the weather. And then by 7:30, 8 o'clock, the kids are starting to wake up. So then it's breakfast time for everybody. And then I'm with them for the next 2 hours, and then I'll run upstairs at 10. And I even try to keep that flexible. So if the kids have dentist appointments, or, or even today, like for me, it's from 2 to 4 today. So I had my door, I'm like, hey, instead of 1 to 3, can you do 2 to 4 and adjust my time today? And there's my 2 hours. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, that I could do that. So, I love the ability to be flexible and just say, okay, Monday mornings, I'm not flexible. Like this is the only time I really have where I have to be live. I have to be, with my clients. They're looking for me. They're depending on me. But I try to keep the rest of the week. Like I say, like, just email me. I'll check my email several times a day. And if you have a question, I'll get right back to you as soon as I can, but I'm also not on my computer all the time because it really isn't, my kids are my priority. So I try not to just be on a screen all the time. And that's really kind of how I balance it. And then Saturdays is usually our deep clean day. Every day I try to do the dish, like I do dishes and laundry a little bit every day. Like right now I have laundry I have to fold. I have like 3 baskets of laundry. So actually I'll probably get off with you and then go down and do that. It's just really about, kind of being organized, I guess, like in a general structure. But like I said, I'm not very adaptable. So I kind of am like normally pretty organized anyway. And it just kind of works. But I was intentional with health, wellness, and chocolate not to create a monster where it needed me all the time. And it so far has been very successful in that regard.
Right. You're taking control of the business and not letting the business control you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important for the wellness journey that we're all on, is to we take control. Mm-hmm. And not let everything else around us control us and keep us away from what we do.
Right. That actually really is the core of it. It's like this, I think a lot of times too, like if we struggle with our weight or we struggle in another area, we feel powerless to change it or to be effective in our own life. So like food is just the natural default because at least we could do that. Or it's alcohol, or it's drugs, or it's spending money. Do you know what I mean? Like I think we find whatever we can to make up for it. But it's really this feeling of like, okay, I can do this. I could be effective and in this situation, and then you got it.
Right. Well, thank you for having a little tea party with us today, and I've enjoyed having Katie with us all week. And of course, on Super Shopper Saturdays, we're going to have a little episode where she'll describe her little program that she has available. So this has been a great week talking with you today, Katie, and we will hopefully get to connect again later on. And as always, I'm going to have all of our information in the video post with the videos. So thank you, Katie, and have a good afternoon.